Welcome back to Golf WRX's Winning What's in the Bag, where this week we're taking a look at two winning What's in the Bags, as this week's tournament, the 2024 Grant Thornton Invitational, was a team event, and Jake Knapp partnered up with Patty Tavatanakit. I'm going to mess her name up too many times. I apologize, Patty. But they won a team event where they paired up an LPGA player with a PGA player, and it was exciting. It came down to the last couple holes, and they played well through those last couple holes where a couple other teams made a few mistakes. So both of them won. So we're going to go through both bags, and we're going to start ladies first. We're going to go with Patty's bag. She's got a pretty cool setup. We're going to start with driver, as we always do, and Patty's playing the Titleist TSR2. So this is the previous gen, not the new GT, the TSR2. This is the slightly higher launching, a little bit higher spinning, but more forgiving head from Titleist in the TSR lineup. She's playing an 8-degree head, but the hosel is actually set to A4. So A4 means it's going to be actually up 1.5 degrees of loft and standard lie. So it's actually playing about a 9.5-degree head. This can also shut the face a little bit and change a few other things to get the launch conditions the way she might like or need them. And then this driver is shafted up with a Mitsubishi Tensei 1K Pro Blue 50 stiff. So yes, LPGA players not playing the crazy super heavy X-Flex shafts. She's playing a 50-gram stiff. The 1K Pro Blue is the mid-launch, kind of mid-spin shaft from Mitsubishi in the Tensei lineup. It comes in at 54 grams and 4.9 degrees of torque in the 50 stiff. Then to move on, we move on to her 3-wood, and it is a matching Titleist TSR2. This is the 15-degree head or 3-wood head. Titleist doesn't really put 3-wood, 5-wood, whatever. They just put the loft on there, so it's the 15-degree head, which is a 3-wood. The hosel on this one is set to A1, which is standard, so it's playing 15 degrees of loft, standard lie settings. This one shafted up a little differently. It's shafted up with a Mitsubishi Diamana WB 63S. So the WB is the whiteboard, which is going to be the lower launching, lower spinning version. Now, fairway woods and drivers, they don't necessarily have to have the same shaft. They're delivered usually a little bit different. Drivers, you hit up on it. 3 woods, 5 woods, you hit a little bit down on it. So totally different profile here, being lower launch and lower spin. The 63S model comes in at 62 grams and 3.1 degrees of torque for that whiteboard. The next club in her bag is going to be a 5-wood, and this is going to be the Titleist TSR2 18-degree head. So again, 18-degree head, it's typically a 5-wood. This one, the hosel is set to C1. So C1 is kind of the most fade setting in a Titleist wood you can have. It's going to be minus 0.75 degrees of loft and also 0.75 degrees more flat. So I guess you don't want to say up or down. It's just more flat. It's almost 1 degree more flat. Now, a flatter lie angle, a little less loft, that's going to promote a little bit more fade bias launch. This one here is another kind of lower launch, lower spin shaft, but a different model. It is going to be the Mitsubishi Tensei 1K Pro White 60S. So this again is a 60 gram range stiff flex. It's lower launching, lower spinning, a little different profile than the WB, and it comes in at 62 grams and 3.8 degrees of torque for the 5-wood. Now moving to iron, she's got a little bit of a combo set. The first iron in her bag is a Titleist T200 4-iron. So this is the multi-piece head. It's got a little hotter face, a little more ball speed, a little bit more forgiveness, a little higher launch for the 4-iron, and it is shafted up with a graphite design Tour AD DI85 hybrid in stiff flex. So this is the orange and white shaft, iconic. It's in a ton of utility irons from LPGA to PGA Tour, out on amateur bags. This shaft has been everywhere for a long time. It's kind of mid-launch, mid-low spin, and it comes in at 88 grams and 2.4 degrees of torque. Very smooth feel on that shaft as well. The rest of her iron set is a Titleist T100s, so 5 through pitching wedge, the T100, and these are still kind of a multi-piece, but they're more of a compact iron built for precision, and they actually have internally 2 tungsten weights in the toe and heel to add a little bit of forgiveness, even though they are a really compact kind of player's iron. These are shafted up with Nippon N.S. Pro 950 GH irons in stiff flex. This is an iron that's actually been around a long time, a really good smooth feel to it, a little bit forgotten with a lot of the Modus product that tends to get more play out on tour, but the 950 GH is really smooth, a great mid-launch shaft, comes in at 98 grams and 1.8 degrees of torque. We move into wedges, and wedges, as you would guess, Patty's a Titleist staffer, so her wedges are going to be Titleist Vokey SM10 wedges. She's going to play a 50.12 F grind in her gap wedge. And again, we talk about the F grind. It's got a full sole, great for full shots and square face shots from your wedge. Her sand wedge is going to be a 5608 M grind, and I feel like the M grind was a wedge that, or a grind that we saw tons of for a long time, and the M grind is kind of faded away a little bit for preference with some other grinds, but the M grind is super versatile. A lot of trailing edge, toe and heel relief, allows you to really open the face up, manipulate the face to play different trajectory type shots. Her lob wedge is, of course, the 60.04 T grind. The T grind is all over the place. It's probably the most versatile grind that Titleist makes. 4 degrees of bounce is very low. Tons of trailing edge and toe and heel relief. When you open that one up, the leading edge really stays down close to the turf for those tight lies. And all 3 of these are shafted up with Nippon N.S. Pro Modus 115 wedge shafts. So they do make, Modus does make a line of wedge-specific shafts. These offer a little bit flatter, lower ball flight, and they're slightly heavier than the number on them. So they're labeled as 115s. They come in at about 122 grams, offer that flatter ball flight while still maintaining spin for a little bit better control. Now, her putter then we move into is a Scotty Cameron TourType Squareback 2. I know it's a lot to be said, but the TourType Squareback is a little bit, kind of looks like a Newport 2, but it's a little longer, a little boxier shape. It actually has a long neck on it, so it's a very tall plumber's neck, and what that does is it actually takes away some of the toe hang of the putter. So this is going to be a little bit closer to face balanced, a little bit larger square blade, so it's going to be a little bit more forgiving and built for maybe a stroke that's got a little less arc to it. For grips, she's actually on our clubs, she's using Iomic Sticky 2.3s. This is a grip that was super popular a long time ago. I remember chasing these down. They're built out of a little different material. They're not built out of traditional rubber like a lot of other grips. They're actually built from an elastomer, which is a resin, and it's done that to reduce twisting. So when you hold the club and after you swing it, there's less twist of the grip. That's how it's built. The 2.3 is actually the standard size now in the sticky grip, and she's typically, I think, playing the full gray set through the set. For ball, she's playing the Titleist Pro V1x. This is the slightly higher launching ball, has a little bit more spin to it compared to the Pro V1. It's also got a little bit firmer feel. So that is Patty's What's in the Bag from the Grant Thornton. Let's go ahead and take a look at Jake Knapp's bag as well. Now, Jake is a PXG staffer, but he does play a few other clubs in the bag, which it seems like a lot of their players do. Like Patty's, we'll start at the top of the bag, and it is the Ping G425 LST. So this is the 2 generations ago. Now there is the G430 and the now G425. So a few years older. The LST model is, of course, the lower spinning model. This is going to promote a little bit lower ball flight, flatter trajectory, lower spin, and a little bit more neutral to slightly fade bias setup. It's a 9-degree head, and the rear movable weight is set to neutral. Now the hosel on this one looks to be set to the F-. So there's the small minus, big minus, and then there's an unmarked one on there that would be the F-. And F- is a flat setting. So it is -1 degree of loft and a flatter lie. The flatter lie, of course, promotes a little bit more of a fade ball flight. So his 9 degree is really playing like 8 degrees and set to flat. It's shafted up with a Project X HZRDUS T1100 handcrafted 75 gram 6.5 shaft. Ton to say, I totally get it, but the interesting thing is this is the 2017-ish model. I think that's when this one came out. There is a new model, a new version of this that just came out recently this year. This is the older one. So this one's got kind of a full chrome PVD finish, lime green graphics where it says HZRDUS, and the T1100 refers to a Toray carbon fiber called the T1100. This shaft is extremely stiff, very stiff profile compared to, say, HZRDUS Black. It's got a much stiffer midsection, but stiff overall, very low launch, very low spin, and it is actually slightly counterbalanced. So the handle section of the shaft is a little bit heavier. For his kind of 3-wood, 2-wood mini driver spot, he is playing the PXG Secret Weapon mini driver. So this is a tour-only part. I know a lot of us thought we were going to see this come out last year or in 2024 from PXG when all the mini drivers started hitting the market. but PXG has kept this as a tour-only part. It's a 13-degree head. I'm not sure what the hosel setting is on this one because, one, I don't have a great photo of it or any photo really of it in his bag, and two, if you look at a PXG hosel, there is nothing externally that shows you what's going on with that setting. So not sure on the hosel settings there, but it's a larger head, has 4 movable weights on the sole, so you can actually kind of dial in the ball flight, move a heavier weight forward to take some spin off, move a heavier weight back, will add some height, and then of course, toe and heel to inflict kind of a draw or fade bias to it. It is shafted up with a kind of matching shaft to his driver, the Project X HZRDUS T1100 handcrafted, but the 95-gram version in 6.5 flex. So 6.5 is extra stiff. This shaft and extra stiff plays extremely stout. I used to own one back when it first came out. Extremely stout, extremely stiff. Definitely takes a little bit of power to get this thing launched in the air high enough, but Jake brings a lot of club head speed. So he's got the 95-gram version, which I can only imagine how stiff that plays. Again, low launch, low spin, slightly counterbalanced, very stiff profile. This was kind of the Hulk before there ever was a Hulk. Then we move into his next fairway, and he's playing a TaylorMade QI10 5-wood. So this is the 18-degree head, bonded hosel, carbon crown. The standard QI10 meant to be a little bit more forgiving, a little higher launch, maybe a little bit more spin than the titanium tour model. Very popular on tour. I think when these kind of hit the market in early 2024, I think we thought we'd see a lot more of the tour model out there. The standard QI10 has been in a ton of bags, whether 3-wood or 5-wood, but Jake has the 18-degree one as a 5-wood in his bag, and it is shafted up with the same shaft, a Project X HZRDUS T1100, handcrafted, 95 6.5. So extremely stiff, again, low launch, low spin. Kind of talked about it enough there, but a great old classic shaft from 2017. We move into his irons, and he is actually playing the PXG 0317 ST irons in 4-through pitching wedge. So these are the 3x forged kind of blades in the PXG lineup at the moment. He used to play the old 211s, but now he's playing the 317 STs. Totally milled back, 3x forged, very compact, very edgy, kind of squared off toe look to them. Extremely soft, really nice irons. I've had the pleasure of hitting these before, and they do really feel very good. They're shafted up with KBS C-Taper 130X. So from KBS, this is kind of the lowest launching, lowest spinning, most stable profile that they offer. But it's got that nice satin finish on it. You see these a lot on tour, played by a lot of bigger hitters who want to control flight and control spin. For wedges, he's got a little bit of a mix. His gap wedge is going to be a PXG 0311 Sugar Daddy 2. This is the previous gen. The Sugar Daddy 3s are out now, but this is a 5210 C grind, so 10 degrees of bounce. The C grind has a little bit of trailing edge relief, a little heel and toe relief to it, so it should get through the turf fairly quickly, release out fairly well. These are 3x forged as well. Now his are a raw finish. Most of us get kind of a satiny, kind of white chromish satin finish. His are actually raw. You can kind of see the rust starting to form on it. And this has a matching shaft with the KBS C-Taper 130X. Matches his irons. He probably uses it more for full shots. And you kind of want that similar flight feel that you get with the irons. His next wedge is a Titleist Vokey SM9, and this is going to be the 56.10S. The SM9 is, again, previous version. We now have the SM10s, but the 9s do have a slightly different center of gravity than the 10s, so he may like that feel compared to the newer wedge out right now. The 10S grind is, of course, the standard sole grind. It's a little bit wider, but does have some trailing edge relief, so it kind of releases from the turf fairly well, and that trailing edge will allow you to open the face without the leading edge coming up too far off the turf on tight lies. This one here is shafted up with a similar shaft, the KBS C-Taper 130X, again, probably matching iron shafts for feel on full shots, and then still offers enough stability on the touch shots around the green. For lob wedge, we are going with the Titleist Wedgeworks or Vokey Wedgeworks 60T grind. The T-grind is, of course, just like Patty plays it, all over tour, and that T-grind really allows you to open up the face, play a bunch of different shots without that leading edge coming off the ground on super tight lies. It does take a little bit more skill, but at this level, I don't think we have to worry about that. This one is shafted up with a Nippon Modus 3 WV125. So this is kind of a prototype shaft to what is out now, which is called the Nippon Modus 3 Modus 125 wedge shaft. Very similar profiles. It was kind of the prototype before it came out. It comes in at 133 grams. It's got that flatter ball flight while still having some spin to it. Really smooth feel as you would expect from a Nippon Modus product. Now, his putter is something kind of interesting. It's a PXG prototype mallet. The images you're going to see on here are actually one that PXG built for another tour player. This one's similar. I think the wings in the back are slightly different, a little bit different look than what Jake has, but gives you the idea of kind of what it looks like. Very similar to the TaylorMade Spider in terms of looks. I know Jake earlier in the year back at the Rocket Mortgage was playing a TaylorMade Spider, but now he's playing this prototype mallet from PXG. Looks to have just an all-milled face. It may have PXG's diamond mill on it, but it has kind of the wings in the same shaping, very similar shaping to the TaylorMade Spider. Plumber's neck on it for a full shaft to offset, as well as adding a little bit toe hang to the putter. It is shafted up with an LA Golf Shafts P-Series putter shaft, so full graphite, extremely stiff. Extremely stout profile. I have one. When you actually go to use it, the putter head stays exactly where it is throughout the stroke. There's almost zero flex to the shaft, very little torque, almost no twisting, but a good feel to it. Very stiff. And that is gripped up with a Super Stroke Zenergy 1.0 PT. I'm pretty sure it's a 1.0. I don't have a clear shot at the grip logo, but it looks to be the smaller one, the 1.0. So the 1.0 PT, a little bit slimmer. Kind of fits in the hands. It's a little bit easier, and it gets a little bit closer to a traditional kind of pistol grip that's out there. The rest of his clubs are shafted up with Golf Pride Tour Velvet grips. Not sure if it's a 60 or 58, but they're definitely the standard Golf Pride grips. And then for ball, Jake is using the Titleist Pro V1 left dot. Now the left dot is a little bit different. It is kind of the lower spin and flight ball compared to the Pro V1, so flies even a bit lower, spins a little bit less. They made these as like kind of a small release out to the public a little bit while ago. They were kind of hard to find and get your hands on, but they do come out from time to time. It's got a similar soft feel to the Pro V1, but it does have a different dimple pattern to kind of aid with that lower ball flight. It uses 352 dimples compared to the Pro V1's 388. So those are both Jake and Patty's winning What's in the Bags from the 2024 Grant Thornton Invitational. Congratulations to them on the great win, and we'll see you next week when we check out the next winner's What's in the Bag.